This is the third video in our bow exploration series. Welcome. Welcome to the studio. My name is Cassie. I'm a professional violist and teaching artist. So today we're talking about that third letter in our acronym PAWS. We're talking about the W, which is weight, specifically arm weight. If you haven't seen the other two videos, I'll post those in the comments below. And if you don't have a solid bow hold yet, I would recommend checking out this video so that you have a really great bow hold established before we start talking about bow stuff. So we've been exploring the bow, talking about how the bow can assist us in our interpretation, and how to properly execute dynamics, how to properly execute articulation. So today we're talking about arm weight. I have one, I don't know what you call it, it's a strange exercise, and what we're going to do, I'll talk you through it before we do it. I'm going to bend from the waist as far as I'm comfortable, and as I'm bent from the waist, I'm going to bow on my open D string, and I'm going to try to slowly stand up as I'm bowing. The reason that we do this is because a lot of times we hold tension in our shoulders, and if my shoulders are kind of tensed and engaged, I don't have the ability to release that arm weight into the string. So this exercise allows your arms to kind of fall with gravity from the socket, and that's going to allow you to release the arm weight into the string. Also, when you're bent over, you're kind of having to fight gravity a little bit to keep the bow on the string. So it really helps you feel that engaged feeling on the string. It may sound a little bit crunchy under your ear. That's totally fine. So what we're going to do is, do this with me, bend as far as you are comfortable from the waist, and you're going to bow your open D string and slowly stand up. As you get upright, you should bow a couple of times just so you can feel that really strong connection that you have with the string. So the further you can bend over, the better, because that's going to allow your arms to really release, not have any tension here. Another way that we can achieve that same thing if you're not comfortable bending over, we're going to put our our instrument in playing position and think about the two ways that I could approach the string. So I could approach the string from above, which kind of engages my shoulder and puts me in that tensed up position, or I could approach the string from below, which leaves my shoulder kind of neutral, released. Hopefully we're able to transfer that arm weight into the string. So you could try experimenting with both of those. Think of it like an airplane flying and landing on the string. Kind of, this is already engaged. We don't want that. Approach from below, nice and released. So two different ways to think about how to get that arm weight into the string. A lot of students, when they begin, think that they have to push really hard with their hand to get a loud sound. And yes, that will get you a loud sound, but it will probably also be really coarse, not a very satisfying, not a very beautiful sound. So this is pushing with my hand really hard. Yeah, it's loud, but I don't know anybody that would want to listen to that. I certainly don't. So we have to think about, where does that energy come from? The energy, or the weight, is going to come from this giant muscle that you have in your back, the trapezius muscle. We don't want that to be engaged like you're making a fist and you're about to punch somebody. That's not the feeling that we want to have. We want to have as natural and released an arm as possible. So we're going to go to playing position. We're going to come to the string from below so that our shoulder stays nice and neutral. And if you're not sure you can feel that, you can pretend it's really cold outside, scrunch up those shoulders, and then release when you come inside and it's nice and warm. So setting on the D string, and again, I'm only going to try to change one of those factors at a time. We already talked about placement, angle, now we're on to weight. I'm going to set my bow in the lower half, in the middle, and I'm going to see how much arm weight can I release into the string. It should feel kind of sticky underneath when you wiggle the bow back and forth a little bit. And I'm going to wait until my arm really just wants to go and let it fall. So again, really sticky. I'm making those wiggles at the frog. So that would be when I'm fully released from my shoulder, what 100% arm weight feels like. Sometimes we do want that sound. Sometimes we need a really loud forte sound. We don't always want to have that sound. So we want to have the ability to kind of increase or decrease the arm weight as necessary. So I'm going to set again at the frog. I'm going to feel that 100% weight, And then before I start, I'm just going to take a little bit of that weight out. So it's going to feel like your bicep engages just a little bit before you release the bow. Release when you feel that bicep engage. So we're going for like a mezzo forte, a nice warm, not forced sound. Okay, same idea, but engage that bicep a little bit more, not the shoulder, your bicep. Mezzo piano. Feel the wiggle, feel the release. Okay, let's go for piano this time. So your bicep is going to be even more engaged, or it's going to feel like your arm is a little bit more supported. So set that wiggle, and then support the arm for that piano sound. I'm still feeling underneath the bow that the bow has a little bit of grip on the string, because if I go the complete opposite of that where there's no engagement, that's another special effect. Sometimes we want that sound, that wispy sound, but if we're trying to play piano, that's not really a good sound for us, right? I'm going to go back to the musical example we've been using, which is the prelude from Bach's Third Cello Suite. And I'm going to play it with that flautando-y sound, which is not the sound that we're going for. This is no engagement in the string. So a common thing I see when students are trying to play piano, they immediately go to that where there's just no core to the sound. We can still have a really great, beautiful piano sound, but we still need a little bit of arm weight to help us out. So I can still hear what the pitches are. It is a little bit fuzzy sounding under my ear, but I want to still be able to have the audience understand what notes I'm playing. So we're going to go back to that example that we've been using, and we're going to just show how this one factor can affect the sound. So again, I'm going to only try to change the weight. I'm going to be in the lower half, in the middle, and I'm going to use full arm weight. So that means my shoulder is fully released the entire time into the string. We'll go a little bit slower. Not very musical, but whatever. We got a forte sound the whole time, right? Maybe I want to do a diminuendo. So what we discovered in our set and release exercise was that if I release just a little bit less weight, it's going to be a quieter sound. So I'm going to start with full weight, and by the time I get down to the low C, maybe I want to have 50% of my arm weight into the string. So start with full. Okay, that definitely helped me create a diminuendo there. Maybe I want to do the opposite. Maybe I want to start with 50% arm weight and add arm weight as I go down the scale. That can help me create a crescendo. We've seen in the previous two videos how the placement and the angle can also affect the articulation and the dynamic. So now that you've got a little bit more knowledge about those three factors, you can start combining them in different ways. So let's say we want to only worry about placement and weight. I'm going to sink into the string, be in that optimal sounding point, but I want to use the placement to help me create a diminuendo and the weight to help me create a diminuendo. So I'm going to push out as I get towards that low C string, and I'm going to release the weight from the string a little bit. So full here. Push out and release. That definitely helps me create a diminuendo. Maybe I want to do the opposite and do a crescendo. Starting with less, pushed out a little bit more towards the fingerboard. Pull in, more arm movement. So I hope that if you've watched the other two videos in this series, you can see how we do need to be a little bit of a scientist and experiment with these factors to see what kind of sound we want to create. The last factor that we haven't talked about yet, we're going to talk about in the next video, which is bow speed. But I think even if you only use those three factors, you can create a million different sounds for whatever piece you're working on. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about arm weight, if you feel like you can't really release your arm into the string, if the bend and bow exercise didn't work for you, if you still feel like you're squeezing with your hand, post whatever you're struggling with in the comments and I'll try to help you from afar. And I hope that you're subscribed so that you see the last video in their series, which is the bow speeds video. And until next time, happy practicing.